Humanity had always wondered what was out there. For many years, they looked at the stars and dreamed. One day, they got their answer. The Galactic Assembly found Earth. They welcomed humans as new members. The galaxy was full of different alien races, and most thought humans were too young, too weak, or too emotional. But humans were not afraid. They sent diplomats. They built ships. They listened and learned. Still, most powerful empires in the galaxy didn't pay much attention to Earth. To them, humans were nothing special. That changed when the Krell Dominion attacked. The Krell were known as one of the most feared empires in space. They had sharp ships, cold mines, and no pity. They attacked a small human mining colony in the Aryan Belt. Hundreds of workers died. Many were taken as slaves. Earth asked the Galactic Assembly for help. The answer came back, no. They called it a local matter. They said humans needed to learn to solve their own problems. It was a quiet rejection, but it was loud enough for Earth to hear. Alan Drake was watching the news from his office in New Seattle. He used to be a soldier, but now he worked as a diplomat. He had seen wars before. He had seen leaders stay silent while people died. And now it was happening again. He stood up, called his team, and said one thing. We fight. Back on Earth, people were angry. People were scared. But more than anything, people were ready. They started building ships. They called back old soldiers. They tested new weapons. And they did it without help. Captain Julia Brooks, a young but sharp commander, was given control of the ship Argus. It wasn't the strongest ship, but it was fast. More people joined her. Some were soldiers. Some were engineers. Some were just people who had lost someone in the attack. They became the start of Earth's answer. The galaxy did not see it coming. They thought humans would cry, beg, or run. They didn't. They moved. And for the first time, the galaxy turned its eyes not toward the Krell, but toward Earth. Captain. Julia Brooks stood on the deck of the Argus. The ship was old but strong. The crew was small but ready. They did not wear perfect uniforms. They were not well-known heroes. But they believed in what they were doing. The Krell had taken something from them, and now they were going to take it back. The Argus was not alone. Other ships followed. Some were fast scout ships. Some were old cargo haulers turned into war machines. Even a few alien ships, owned by traders who had lived on Earth, joined the small human fleet. These people did not wait for orders from the Galactic Assembly. They made their own plan. Commander Alan Drake stayed behind on Earth. He worked quietly, sending supplies and messages to the fleet. He gave advice, but he let Julia lead. She had fire in her heart and a clear goal. Their first target was Varens, Divide, a place between two small stars. It was where the Krell had a group of raiders. These raiders were planning to strike more human colonies. The Argus arrived with no warning, no message, just weapons ready. The battle was fast. The humans did not fight like the other galactic races. They used strange moves. They took wild risks. They pushed their ships to the limit. And they won. The Krell ships were destroyed, one by one. The Argus flew right through the middle of the enemy, firing from all sides. Julia stayed calm. Her voice was steady as she gave orders. When the battle ended, only human ships were left in the sky. Not one Krell ship escaped. The galaxy saw the footage. It was sent across space by traders and spies. People watched in silence. These humans did not ask for help. They did not beg. They just acted. Many thought humans would stay quiet after the attack. Instead, they had struck back with force. But it was not just power that scared the galaxy. It was the way they moved, the way they planned, the way they fought like they had nothing to lose. The Krell were not used to losing, but now they had. The humans called it a message. The Krell called it something else. They called it the beginning. The Krell called the human fleet ghosts. Their ships moved in and out of battles without warning. They left no signals, no escape. They attacked fast and left faster. Some captains said it felt like fighting shadows. The truth was simple. Humans had created something new, something the galaxy had never seen. They called it the Ghost Fleet. These ships were hidden by strange tech, a mix of human design and alien parts. They used EMP clouds, plasma shields, and dark energy pulses. Normal sensors could not find them. Only silence came before attack. Commander Alan Drake had built it in secret. With help from ex-military scientists, Earth's rogue engineers, and even a few old space pirates, the Ghost Fleet had become real. Alan did not want medals. He wanted results. The ships had no markings. The crews wore black. They did not speak to enemies. They did not send warnings. They simply appeared and ended things. Captain Julia Brooks worked closely with them. She trusted their quiet skill. Some missions were so deep into enemy space that even she did not know the full plan. But the results spoke for themselves. One by one, Krell bases went dark. Patrols never returned. Colonies full of weapons and guards were found empty, not destroyed, just silent. Fear spread faster than the Ghost Fleet. Alien traders told stories in quiet rooms. Krell soldiers began to look over their shoulders. Even the most brave among them began to fear the dark between stars. The Galactic Assembly watched, but still said nothing. They were afraid, too. If the humans could do this to the Krell, what else were they able to do? Earth never answered questions, never gave speeches. The only message sent from Commander Drake was one line: "We protect our own." The Krell tried to respond. They sent larger ships, stronger weapons. They set traps. But the Ghost Fleet was always one step ahead. It was like the humans knew the future. The galaxy no longer saw humans as weak or small. They saw something else, something cold, something exact. People across planets began to whisper. They didn't say Earth anymore. They didn't say humans. They only used one word: ghosts. The Krell homeworld was a planet of stone and steel. Its sky was always gray and its cities were built for war. No one had ever dared attack it, not in 1,000 years. But that changed when the humans came. Captain Julia Brooks stood on the bridge of the Argus. Around her, the human fleet floated like silent shadows. There were more ships now, more weapons, and they were not just from Earth. Some came from other worlds, worlds that had once been ruled or attacked by the Krell. They had joined the humans, not for power, but for justice. The plan was clear. No long fight, no slow invasion. The goal was not to take land. It was to make a message. The Ghost Fleet moved first. Hidden and silent, they slipped through the Krell's strong defenses. They used new codes, secret paths, and unknown tech. No alarm was raised. No shots were fired. Then, without a word, the power grids went down. Defense towers stopped moving. Krell ships sat dead in the sky. It all happened in seconds. Then the Argus arrived. Captain Brooks sent one signal. It went out to every screen and speaker across the Krell Empire and every planet in the galaxy. The message was short. We are not here to conquer. We are here to end what you let happen. That was all. No threats, no demands. Just truth. And then the human fleet left. They did not fire a shot. The silence that followed was louder than any war. The Krell leaders gathered in fear. They had lost control. Their systems were broken. Their soldiers were afraid. Some ships even refused to follow orders. The surrender came the next day. The Krell sent a message to Earth. No tricks, no lies, just surrender. Across the galaxy, people could not believe it. The Krell had never lost, not like this, not without a real battle. But the humans had done it their way, quick, silent, exact. The Galactic Assembly called an emergency meeting. They argued for hours. Some said Earth should be punished. Others said they should be praised. But Earth gave no answer. They did not attend the meeting. They said nothing at all. And that silence scared the galaxy more than any weapon ever could. The war was over, but peace did not feel simple. The Krell had surrendered, but the galaxy was not calm. People still spoke in quiet voices when they talked about humans. No one knew what they would do next. Earth did not ask for land. They did not ask for power. They simply watched. Trials began on Krell Prime. The leaders who had started the war were brought to court. But no humans stood as judges. Earth refused to take part. They said the ones who suffered should decide justice. So, the freed planets came forward. Those who had been ruled by the Krell, hurt by them and forgotten by the Assembly. One by one, they spoke. Not just about pain, but about how humans gave them a voice. Commander Alan Drake watched all of it from Earth. His office was dark. The screen in front of him showed the trials. His face was calm, but his eyes looked tired. Reporters tried to talk to him. So did politicians. But Drake stayed quiet. One day someone asked him if Earth felt proud of what they had done. He only said, "We weren't right. We were just done being ignored." Captain Julia Brooks returned to Earth weeks later. She was welcomed by cheers, but she didn't smile. She did not feel like a hero. She had seen too much. Her crew had lost friends. Some ships had never returned. The cost was high, even if the war was short. Still, the message had been sent. Earth was no longer seen as weak. They were seen as something else, something that could not be controlled. Some Assembly members tried to speak with Earth again. They offered talks, peace deals, and future partnerships. But Earth did not rush to answer. They had already seen what silence brought them. They had learned how to live without help. Now it was the galaxy that waited. Some leaders feared what the humans would do next. Some hoped they would lead. But most simply wanted to avoid them. And even though Earth had returned to peace, the fear remained. Not because of weapons. Not because of war, but because the humans had done the one thing no one expected. They had walked away. Years passed after the war. There were no more battles, no more sudden attacks. The galaxy was quiet, but it was not peace. It was fear. The name human became something else. It was not just the name of a species. It was a warning. Pirates who once raided planets now avoided human space. Warlords who once ruled small systems stepped down without a fight. If someone said humans were involved, people listened. And then they stopped fighting. Even when humans were not there, the fear of them was. Rumors spread. Some said humans had ships that could hide in shadows. Others said they had weapons that could erase a city in silence. No one knew what was true, but no one wanted to find out. On the edge of the galaxy, two alien captains stood in an empty station. They were enemies. Their fleets had been ready to fight for control of a rich asteroid belt. But then someone said a human scout ship had passed by. That was enough. The fleets left without a single shot. The war was over before it began. In markets and spaceports, people told stories about the war. Parents warned their children not to lie or steal, or the ghosts from Earth would come. Some stories were false. Some were old tales with new names. But the fear was real. The Galactic Assembly changed too. They passed new laws to protect smaller planets. They responded faster to calls for help. Not because they had changed, but because they were afraid humans might step in again. On Earth, things were calm. The cities grew, ships were built, people returned to normal life. But some still trained in secret. Some still watched the stars. Commander Alan Drake had retired. He lived in the mountains, far from the cities. He never spoke to the media, he never wrote a book, but the galaxy still remembered him. Captain Julia Brooks stayed with the fleet. She helped build a new generation of ships, not for war, but just in case. She never forgot the silence of space after a battle. She never wanted to hear it again. The humans had not asked to be feared, but now they were, and across the stars, even the whisper of the word human was enough to stop wars before they started. Many years after the war, the galaxy was still quiet. Not because all problems were gone, but because no one wanted to wake what might still be sleeping on Earth. An alien historian named Velrix came from a distant planet. He had studied many wars, many empires, and many leaders. But the human war was different. There were no long speeches, no great conquests, just silence, fear, and sudden power. Velrix wanted to understand it. He traveled to Earth. It was not what he expected. The cities were calm. People smiled. Children played in the streets. There were no statues of soldiers, no giant flags. It looked like peace. He asked to meet someone from the war. After many calls and long waiting, he was sent to a small house near the edge of a quiet town. There he met an old woman kneeling in a garden. She was planting tomatoes. Her hands were dirty, and her back was bent with age. But her eyes were sharp. "Are you Julia Brooks?" Velrix asked. She looked up and gave a small nod. "I used to be." Velrix told her why he came. He said the galaxy still feared humans. He said their name stopped wars. He said people still spoke of the Ghost Fleet in whispers. Julia listened, then wiped her hands on her shirt. "They don't need to fear us anymore," she said. Velrix shook his head. "But they do. Even now. Why didn't you take power after the war? You could have led the galaxy." She looked at him for a moment, then smiled. "That's exactly why we didn't." She stood up slowly and looked at the sky. The sun was setting. A breeze moved through the garden. "We didn't fight to rule," she said. "We fought because no one else would help us. We didn't want to be feared. But if that's what it takes to keep peace, then maybe it's not so bad." Velrix wrote down every word. But later, when he tried to publish the story, many did not believe it. Some thought it was just a tale to make humans seem kind. Others said it was a trick. But a few understood. A few knew the truth. The galaxy was still afraid of humans. But maybe, just maybe, it was not because of their power. Maybe it was because they had it and chose to walk away.